you fees.
And the other thing you should also know is, in the old days when they wrote your name on the registry and you had a card, if you lost the certificate itself, they could look you up. That doesn't happen with the gift card. It's sort of like cash. So you also have to be careful about that. If you lose the card, you can't go back to the store and say, I'd like to have it replaced.
Good to know. Good to know. One would not think that there would be problems associated with layaways, but sure enough, in this day and age, there seem to be. Jackie, you've found a couple of examples?
With layaways, the retail outlet, vendor, whomever it is, they need to make sure that they have a layaway policy that's conspicuous. In other words, it's viewable to all of your customers. So it has to be there. You have to designate what is the policy. Is there a cancellation period? If there's no policy, if you're putting something on layaway and they don't have a policy, then you know that technically they're violating the law, because there are laws that say any layaway policies have to be visible for all of consumers to see.
And you should know and understand the policy before you enter into that agreement. It's like entering into a contract. If you enter into a contract, you should know what the terms of the contract are before you agree to it.
What happens if I've paid for the merchandise, I'm ready to pick it up, and for whatever reason they don't have it? Maybe they didn't pull the merchandise because it was on layaway.
Well, if they don't have it, they better find the same exact thing, because they cannot substitute it. Again, you have a state statute that says you can't provide substituted items in a layaway if it has to be the same item, okay? Of course, if you're going to accept a similar item, well, that's up to you. That's your decision. But they can't just, you can't pay them and say, well, I don't have it anymore. Well, you want your money back. You definitely want your money back.
Yeah, you should know, am I laying away this specific item, or are they allowed to substitute an exact duplicate?
Yes. And tied to that, this specific item. How about this specific item at that particular price? I bought the product at full boat, and it went on sale 10% within a week. 30 days? 2 months. Do I have any recourse?
Oh, you can always ask the retailer. Can you give me a credit? It's, you put it on sale. Generally speaking, the retailers will give you a credit.
Even if it were a 6-month layaway, and now the product's already...
Fine print.
Again, that's
look at the fine print.
It's knowing what your agreement is. It's
they can't increase the price.
Right. What are the terms of the agreement? Sometimes, right in the agreement, it'll say if it goes down in value, if it goes on sale, we'll honor that price. Sometimes it says we will not. But as Jackie said, what you do know is whatever you agreed to as a price, it's not going up.
So that means someone should actually ask that right up front, especially if they have, if it's Christmas or that holiday and they started it 30 days prior, maybe. But if it's something's 4 or 5 months, very likely they were trying to move that merchandise in the...
Right.
Well, then likely the retail stores have a certain period of time where they'll allow a layaway. So they don't let you lay away for a year unless they have a policy. If they do, again, it needs to be conspicuous so people can see it.
And among the other terms that you should know is what is your right to cancel the layaway and get your money back, because there are certain things you can and cannot do. If you, for instance, have them special order an item for you, the cancellation period is much different than if it's just something that's taken out of stock.
What's a respectable, decent amount of time?
Right to cancel is particularly 10 days, I think, from the date you sign the purchase. 10 days. You have a right to cancel, and they have to give you your money back.
What other fine print items should we know about?
Well, here's a question. I don't know what the answer to this one is, but it's just, we talked about it a few minutes ago. What if you have something on layaway? Jackie's our bankruptcy expert. And
I'm on layaway.
You've paid some money towards the layaway, but the company goes bankrupt in the interim before you finish paying. What happens then? Are you a secured creditor at that point?
That's interesting, because they're holding collateral for you. That's interesting, yeah.
They have your item.
They're holding your
some
item.
Of your money.
You've paid some of the money towards it. That's interesting. I got to honestly say I don't know the answer to that. Because it depends on what chapter you're filing.
Right.
If it's a Chapter 11, certainly I think you do have a right to get your collateral, so to speak, or the item you purchased. Chapter 7, sometimes you may be, SOL, so to speak. You may be out of luck.
Gee, that's something else that we need to be aware of. How about returns? I suppose we should talk about that too. You bought something at full price. You didn't end up getting what they call the gift receipt, but it's cross-country, for example. You don't actually have proof that someone paid $50 for it. You go back to the retail store, that item's on sale, Do you have any recourse? Now they want to give you 25 instead of the 50 that someone paid for it. You're stuck?
If you know where you bought it many times, or where the person who gave it to you bought it, when they scan the item in, they're able to bring it back up in some stores, you know, depending on the sophistication of their computers and so forth. But you're now dealing with the same rules and regulations of returns that are, again, supposed to be conspicuously posted and know your rights on return.
I'm sure that they would be able to have that UPC code
yeah.
that would pull it up. The question is, do they have to honor it? Certainly it's the honorable thing to do, but...
You got to look to the store policy.
Right.
What is the store policy? If you don't have a sales receipt, first of all, how are they going to prove that you bought it? Okay? If you have your sales receipt, then within 30 days they have to give you a full refund in whatever form you've paid, cash, credit, whatever. And you got to read the return policy on your sales receipt. And quite often they're right on the back of the receipt, or they'll just hand you a separate piece of paper. So you got to read the return policy.
Before you get away from the layaway thing, there's another type of consumer issue, and I know this is a little bit different than gift giving, but it raises some interesting issues. The type of where you rent to buy places, a lot of times people go in and they enter into a contract where they're renting it. At the end of a certain period of time, they end up buying it. And there's a case that I'm familiar with where a woman went in to buy a refrigerator, and she was paying $200 a month, and it was for 3 years or some crazy thing like that for a $600 or $700 refrigerator. And they sued her because she stopped paying. They wanted the refrigerator back. So now we're looking at, is this an unconscionable situation that they've put her in? In that case, the court said it's unconscionable for someone to buy something on layaway, although it's not exactly layaway, it's rent to own, and charge them an outrageous amount of money, 5, 6, 10 times the actual value, and then say you're going to take it back if they don't complete it. They actually gave her the refrigerator and said that the company that was trying to unconscionably deal with her,
bilk her,
is out of luck.
Interesting.
I just want to correct myself on the return. It's 10 days.
10
it's not
days.
30 days.
Okay.
10 days.
Since we've spoken about technology issues in the past, many people are buying the gift card even online. What do you know? Do you have any input about whether or not those who are doing internet selling have similar policies to retail stores? Are they better, or are they worse? Are they less honorable? Do you have any thoughts about that to share?
Well, I think they're governed by the same laws, rules, regulations that you would in an actual store. You're buying online. And again, buyer beware. There should be somewhere on the website, what is the return policy?
Yeah, and the technology raises a very interesting issue.
Yeah.
Where are you doing business?
Yes.
You're
that's
sitting
right.
in Rhode Island, they're in Minnesota. Is it the laws of the state of Rhode Island or the laws of the state of Minnesota that apply? They'll usually have in those little boxes that you can scroll down forever and ever and ever, a lot of language that'll tell you what they are assuming you're agreeing the answer to that question to be.
That reminds me of the California issue, shipping liquor from California to Rhode Island. You buy a gift certificate for wine in California, you want it shipped to Rhode Island. Okay, you go to Rhode Island, here's your gift certificate. Now what? You can't ship liquor to Rhode Island.
Right.
Now what do you do?
Trouble. What happens?
I don't find an address in Massachusetts, maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
Rhode Island has very specific laws on who can distribute liquor and what licenses you need to sell.
Having been in that situation, I can tell you that apparently the DBR is not currently trying to enforce that, but they don't want to promote internet sales of wine as yet because of the competition that it has with the retailers, which we understand. We don't know where that's going, but we should stay tuned and have our viewers updated about that as we learn more about that. Anything else about layaway that we should know?
I think we covered all of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we covered it. People have a right to cancel it within a certain amount of time, make sure the policy is somewhere in the store. They usually give you on your layaway slip a copy of the policy. Make sure you've read it.
As with any other contract, understand what the terms of the contract are before you sign.
I have only one minor question. It's not about layaway, but rather about the gift certificate. A gift card that was for $50, the person goes into a store and buys something that is $30. Cash back, or is it another gift card, and who has that option?
my memory is correct, if my memory is correct, I think in Massachusetts, up to